Nice to see you, Mr. Ridge. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm good.
Very excited to be here today.
Me too, in Todd's backyard.
In Todd's backyard.
This is the name of our show now. In Todd's backyard. Okay.
All right. My first question for you is, why is Blue being re-released?
Blue's being re-released partly because I didn't even notice. I was going through some of my my work, and I saw that it was 20 years since it came out, and I had just forgotten. And so I decided to publish a 20th anniversary edition of it, and then I read through the book again, and I decided to I thought I could revise some stuff.
Yeah.
And there were a few things. It was my first book, you
Yeah.
know, and so I remember some of the criticisms about the book, to be honest with you, and I thought they were good for a young writer. Some of my more minor characters in Mrs. Pasalacqua, and there's a couple of funny characters in it, were not quite detailed enough, so I went back, I fleshed them out a little bit.
Okay.
And also kind of the themes that run through the book, tolerance, acceptance, inclusion. I mean, they were always in the book. That's why I wrote the book 20 years ago, but they're even more important today. I mean, they're not more important. They're always important.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it more. So I just kind of pushed into that a little further with this book. And so it was great. It's great to go back and visit something you did 20 years ago and have a second chance to edit it again.
Yeah.
You know? Because you always do something. Every time I read the first page, I would do something different. But yeah, so that was partly that I was because it was 20th anniversary and I could revise it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. You've adapted and written plays and novels in the past. Are there any differences between writing a novel and a play?
Yeah, there's a lot of the biggest thing is, of course, with a novel, you have much more time to develop and your themes, and they can be nuanced, and you can lay things in. Now that's true with plays too, but you know, you've got a time limit on that. You know, so I find playwriting very difficult that way, particularly getting your exposition across. Which, how do you get that? You know, get it across in a timely manner so you can get on with the play without it sounding like exposition. Is the trick of playwriting a lot. I love the time that I can take with a novel. And a lot of not my novels, I've got 3 novels, but almost all of them don't jump right in. I like to take the first 40, 50, 60 pages to get people into the world, into the geography of the place. And so I like the time that I can take with a novel. And,
Yeah.
So you can sit with it and get to know the people before things start to happen sometimes. I have a murder mystery called Winsome Murder, and I don't bring the detective in until page 60, and a lot of people are like, where's the detective?
Yeah.
He's coming.
Don't worry.
So,
What's your writing process, and do you have a schedule that you try to stick to?
yeah, I do. I take breaks from it, but from when I am writing, I write early. I usually get up at 5 or 5:30, and I got into that habit because, for those of you that don't know, I'm an actor also, and you know, the actors, your parents are actors. Our day usually starts at noon, generally. So our day is usually noon to 4 and then 6 to 10, or if we're doing a show, you know, 11 or midnight. So I got in the habit when I was younger of writing early in the morning, and now it's kind of, that's the time that I always write. You know, I tried writing at night, I fall asleep. I thought it would be very romantic, you know, writing with a glass of scotch at night.
By candlelight or something?
Yeah, I just fall asleep, and I'm not very creative. So I like to. I set an alarm and I get up and I make myself write whether I want to or not. And some days are more productive than others, but I kind of made a promise that I won't let myself leave. That it's a job.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're your own boss. You know, you got to get up, and I have a writing studio in my garage. So that's my office, and I go out and walk to my garage. So that's it.
Did you do any research for Blue, and do you usually do research for your writing?
Yeah, I do a ton of research. It's what I call collateral research, because it's the equivalent of going down the YouTube hole or whatever you do when you go down
The rabbit hole. Yeah.
Rabbit holes. Yes, thank you. But I do that with reading. So even with Blue, I researched the science behind marlins too, how fast they are, their size, and color, and stuff. So not to do some of that stuff, not to just do from memory of what I've seen on TV. I really want to be as precise as I can for that. So all of my books, I do whatever it is, all kinds of collateral research, and it doesn't always all get into the book, but it's in your brain.
Yeah.
And when you're pulling for ideas, you've got that kind of background. So, yeah, I like to do a lot of research. It's fun.
Why'd you choose the Marlin as a main element in the story?
The Marlin, well, I'm dating myself, but I grew up, his name was Marlin Perkins, too, but there was The American Sportsman was a show when I was a kid, and I used to be fascinated by it. And it was all about hunting and fishing and outdoors. And I don't know if it was in the trailer in like the beginning credits or something, but there was always somebody fighting a blue marlin, and this fisherman on the back of a boat. And there's a scene in the book where Morgan talks about that. But I grew up watching that, and I was a fisherman since I could walk. I fished, and I fished like flounder and fluke, little baby fish, and they're not very big, but. So always as a kid dreamed of catching a marlin. It looked so amazing, and they were huge and like really hard to catch, and so it lived for me like this kind of magical being, this beast, and I never caught a marlin, but and I wouldn't want to today either, but I remembered it was just this amazing animal that I was kind of in awe of, and they're powerful and fast, and nobody can catch them. And
yeah.
So it had a lot of great metaphors for Morgan in the book also,
Who helps you along the way in your writing process?
Different people. I usually have, I have editors on the books. I always work with an editor. One of my first readers and who I trust the most, a great reader, is Sarah Young in town here.
Yeah.
She's been helping me since I started writing, and she's a great listener and reader of stories. Mm-hmm. So she gives me really great feedback, and just when she gets lost, when she doesn't understand something, this is nice, but I don't know how you got from here to there. So I think most writers probably have a trusted reader, and probably not your spouse or just somebody there's no agenda. They're just reading the story. Not that the spouse has an agenda, but they can be they can be prejudiced to your work and like it maybe when it's could use a little more work. That's never been a problem with my wife, but so I both with editors and also a trusted reader like Sarah Young, who's helped me with all my books.
Is there a part of the story that feels especially important or personal to you?
Personally to me? Yeah, I think there's one of the biggest themes that runs through the book is I know it's a fantastical, magical adventure, but everybody tells this young kid that he can't be the thing he wants to be. Mm-hmm. And that's the big metaphor for me. And I was a kid, I grew up in New York, I was a fisherman, 2-time college dropout. I'm really lucky I'm here talking to you today. And I wanted to, like, I don't know even why. I wanted to be a writer and an actor. And it's like where I come from, like, what do you think? You kids didn't do that. A lot of kids didn't do that where I came from. And when I started out, I got a lot of flack from some people and not a lot of support.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot with people some young people that want to go into the arts. It could be any profession, but I'm in the arts, so I'll talk about that. And there's not always the support from your family that you would like, or from perhaps friends or peer pressure. So the theme about finding the people in the book, Morgan finds the people that believe in him. Actually, they find him, is kind of the magic in it. But just supporting young people and being what they want to be and accepting them for who they are. And this is me. And so that kind of tolerance is a big thing for me that runs in the book too, acceptance.
So is the lesson of acceptance and accepting yourself for who you truly are, is that something you want readers to take away from the book?
I would love it if they did. I don't particularly like books that hit you over the head with a metaphor or symbolism. So you can't write that. So I think some readers and even younger readers will enjoy it just for the magical adventure that it is. And that's cool. That's great. My older readers, when you get into early teens and late teens and adults, can see the bigger metaphors in the piece about basically equity and inclusion and really tolerance. So yeah, I certainly hope people do, and that's what the book was written for. But like I say, it works just on a kind of a crazy magical adventure too, if you're just up for that, you know.
How did the idea of the magical adventure strike you?
It actually started out as a theater monologue. This is 20, gosh, I'm old, more than 25 years ago. I wrote like a 2-page monologue that was based, when I was a kid, I was just play in the bath and pretend I was a fish. I know it sounds crazy, but you probably did too. Do you ever, when you were like
Oh yeah.
6, you'd go underwater in the bath, and I remember tapping on the tub and like it was really loud, and I'd look at my fingers.
That's
Like
like
magnifying.
And
Yeah,
stuff.
you could see your and so I wrote this monologue about a boy pretending he was a fish in a bathtub, and then having a great time, and it gets kind of crazy, and then his mother comes in, of course, and the bathroom's a mess, and that scene's in the book actually. So yeah, it was a real event in my life that, you know, just making fun of myself, pretending I was a fish, and that became a monologue, and then. One day, I don't know why, I just thought maybe I'd try and turn it into a book, and started writing, you know.
What did you feel when you autographed your first copy?
It's really cool to get your first book out. I remember it's always the moment that when you get your first box of books and you open them up. And I remember watching a kid, it was the Waltons, I think. I think John Boy was a writer. But I remember some TV thing where the young writer opened up the box and took the books out and smelled them. And new books have a certain smell, and I did that, and shamelessly. But yeah, it was really beautiful. It's, you know, and part of it is because I thought at the time, I kind of said, the magic in this was about as fantastical as me publishing a book. I'm not educated as a writer. I wish I was. I wish I went to the Iowa, University and studied. So I was just thrilled and humbled that I could even have a book out there. Because one of the biggest things I think for me as a writer, to get up every morning, the hardest thing is getting past your own, I call them the screaming monkeys in your head. Like, who am I to write a book? Nobody's going to want to read what I write. I'm nobody, I'm not famous. I can, all this chatter that you shut off and you go to work anyway and you do your work.
Yeah.
So I was really just blessed and really thrilled when the first book came out. Yeah, it's still cool when a book comes out.
Yeah.
So.
In your acknowledgments, you credit your daughter Sophia with helping you rewrite the book. How did it feel working with your daughter, and did you learn anything new about the way you write from working with her?
Yeah, well, both my kids, my son Gail, and my daughter. Have taught me so much over the years, and my daughter particularly with this book, she helped me really get the idea to do it again, about taking more control in your life as a writer and not leaving everything up to the big publishing companies, and because it's been very hard for me to get my books out. So I decided to, in particular over this year of COVID, of a lot of us in many walks of life, trying to take the reins of our own careers and do things ourselves. So get our own publishing out there, do our own interviews like this, and get out there more, which I used to do. Anyway, so Sophia really helped me have the kind of the courage to do that. Her generation is finding a different way to work in the world, and so I'm kind of excited to try and see what I can do on my own. And keeping it in the community is the new idea too.
Yeah.
I jokingly said that when I was younger, I was like, not complain, but I was worried that I couldn't get my book outside the 90-mile radius of like Madison, Milwaukee, and had aspirations to get it further. And now I enjoy that 90-mile radius. That's
Yeah.
my home. I went to school in Milwaukee. I've worked in Madison. I live in Spring Green for 29 years, almost, something like that. And so I enjoy keeping the book in the community and trying. If somebody else reads it, great. I mean, I'm not above that, believe me. But it's not it's not my worth. Is if the book is out like in New York or L.A. or something like that. I enjoy doing something like this with a friend from my own town. And I'm finding that much more rewarding as I get older, too. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. That's all I have for you today.
It's great. You did great. How did I do?
You did great.
I always get nervous with these things.
I love the book. I'm happy it's been released for its 20-year anniversary. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Okay. Thank you, sir.